In this video, we'll work on a portrait. So we have three here from our import. Let's choose this one. And we'll make a virtual copy, which is Command apostrophe. And we'll develop that virtual copy. So hit D to go to develop, and R to go to crop mode to select the crop tool. And just grab an edge and crop. I know this is going to be pretty tight. And maybe we'll unlock the crop tool so we can choose any aspect ratio. And I want to get just her face and not the background. And I'm going to get the background out of it. Let's go with that. So the first thing we'll do is use the spot removal tool to just zoom in and check to see if there are any little spots that need to be removed. And here's one. So we'll reduce the size of the brush with the left bracket key. Click on it. Same thing here. And it's showing us all the spots. We'll hide those with the H key. And we'll just increase the brush size a little bit and just go through and remove any little blemishes that we don't want to show up. So that's okay. And she has this stud in her nose, and I think it's just a bit of a distraction, so we'll remove that too. Oops. Let's turn the opacity up. There we go. Okay, I'll double check those other ones. I think they're fine. So next, we'll select a brush, and we'll select one of the Lightroom presets, which is Soften Skin. And to use this brush, this is a preset, so Lightroom reduces clarity to -100 and increases sharpness to 25. And we want to apply it fairly softly with a bit of feathering, so we'll move that up to 50%. And flow and density are set at 65. Auto masking, I don't think we'll need it. And we can increase the brush size with the right bracket. There you can see it a little better when it's on a dark background. And we're just going to brush over her complexion, over her skin, and apply this effect. And it will just smooth things out, color and texture. And so we want to get everything. We don't want to do it on her eyebrows or on her eyes, just on her skin. And we can zoom out for a minute here. Make the brush a little smaller. Smaller again with the bracket key. We don't want to do her lips. And we can turn on the overlay to see how we're doing, make sure we're covering everything. You see I missed a bit up here. And just above her eyebrow here. And we'll do down along her chin. I won't worry too much if it catches the edge of the scarf over her head there, but over the edge of her lips. And it does. Let's just erase a little bit there. And down here as well. That's all right. Next, we'll select a new brush. Use another Lightroom preset, which is teeth whitening. And we're just going to do a very little bit to the whites of her eyes. So we don't need any feathering here, so I'll hold the Shift key and hit the bracket key until the feathering goes down to almost 0. And we'll just brush very lightly again. Flow and density are left at about 65%. And we just want to do the whites of her eyes so we can create some contrast with the iris and the pupil of her eye. So we're just going to make them just the slightest bit whiter. We've got a small brush, so we'll do under her eye. And then increase the brush size again with the bracket key. And I think that will do. So another new brush, this time Iris Enhance. And again, the presets are there. A little bit of clarity and saturation and exposure. And I know in this image I'm going to need a lot of exposure for it to show up. So no feathering, and a brush just the size of her iris, so we can paint inside here. We'll try it once more. And I think it's going to need even more exposure. Let's try the other eye. And there we go. So just something like that. Let's center this a bit so we can see both eyes. And we'll bring up that exposure a little more. Maybe a little more saturation. Deepen that color a little bit. And zoom out. So we can see the effects of the brushes by turning the brushes on and off. And you can see how skin softening has smoothed out the texture and the color of her skin ever so slightly. And the iris of her eyes has been enhanced, as well as the whites being made slightly whiter to create that contrast. And while we're here, there are, well, we won't need, I don't think we'll need the brush, but I think we'll need maybe the spot removal tool. We'll zoom in a little bit and just see if we can take some of these highlights out of here. Don't have to do them all, we just leave feathering up. the brush a lot smaller. Let's try that. And where's it choosing from? Not where I want. So let's go on her upper lip. Like so. That looks okay. And we'll do another one beside it. And where's that one from? Nope. I want it up here too. And put more brush. Do another one there. Yeah, that's not bad. So this is just dimming down those highlights on her lips. And let's go up here along with every other one. And if the effect is too noticeable, we'll just drop the opacity of the spot removal tool. And there, I think that looks okay. So it just softens it down a little bit. Maybe I'll do that one more spot. Or maybe I'll just drag this one down a bit. Nope. Let's try one more spot right there. H. Put it up here somewhere. Hide with the H key. Okay. Looks a little blotchy right now, but we're going to convert this file to black and white, so we'll see how it looks then. So, as I said, convert to black and white. Close the spot tool and convert to black and white. And I think it looks okay there. So what I'd like to do with it now in black and white, and of course portraits always look very good in black and white. Well, let's have another brush, and this time we'll use Clarity, which is mid-tone sharpening and contrast. And we'll add some clarity to the scarf. Let's move the feathering up. I think at the same time, which I'm going to do, we'll add a little bit of exposure to it. So we'll see how that works. Increase the brush. Flow and density are down, and move them down even a little bit more. So I just want to go over the scarf here. And I think, well, I'm not sure if I'll turn on auto mask yet or not. But I wanted to pick up these edges as much as possible. And so auto masking will help Lightroom pick up those edges on its own. So let's just do the top part there and see how that's going to look. How's our overlay? I need to get around the edges a little bit more. So let's turn on auto mask and see how it does. It's not bad up there. So we want to increase the exposure a little bit, make it look white instead of the pink that it was. and also add some sharpness and contrast to it to give it some texture, to create that contrast with her skin. And so I'll select the new brush and do this part down the bottom here. And I've just selected a new brush because it's folded over. I don't think it'll need quite as much application of the effect as the upper part did. And I won't do this little bit right in the bottom right hand corner because it's fur, so it's not the same texture. Okay, how's that looking? Again, we just want to enhance the texture of this this scarf to create some contrast with her skin. Turn that off. Try a little more exposure. So there, and we can zoom in on it down here. And there we are. So there we can see it, and we can see what effect we're having. Lots of detail, lots of texture. That's what we want. You can even add some sharpening. To this. And we'll go back to the other brush and do the same thing. Add a little bit of sharpness to that one as well. And that should do. So this conversion to black and white has made it a little bit darker here on the left side. So I think I'd like to bring that up a little bit. Let's just see what the shadow slider is going to do. And yep, it's bringing it up a little. And maybe even the blacks where it's quite dark in there, we'll just bring those up a little bit. And that's better. One more brush. And this one is sharpness. And I only want to sharpen her eyes. So we'll reduce the feathering a little. And the brush size a little bit big, we'll make it a little smaller. And we'll just go over her eyes. And that can include her eyelashes. A little bit under, whatever, depending. Sometimes do the eyebrows as well. See how our mask looks. Pretty good. Just get down in here. And same down in here. And we can zoom in to check. And we can just go back a couple of steps. Go forward a couple of steps just to see the very subtle difference. Anything else? And I might we'll just maybe just tone that down a little bit. So new brush and burn to darken. just do this a little bit down here. There, I think that's okay. Okay, I won't add a vignette to this one. And I think that's it. We're done. Back to the grid.